18-10, Saturday Arvo kicked off with Sharks getting through a bit of a slot fest against the Titans. Barn stats,
wasn't it? Yeah, 3 tries to 2, 2 out of 3 conversions played, 1 out of 2 for the Titans, 1 out of 1 penalty attempts for the Sharks. 68% completion for the Sharks, which has been pretty much their average, I think, for the last 4 or 5 weeks, which is probably why their form's been so rubbish. But 81% for the Titans, 30 out of 44 sets played, 30 out of 37. 5 line breaks to 4, 44 tackle busts for the Sharks, 27 for the Titans, 14 offloads to 13, 4 forced dropouts to 0 40-20s, 327 tackles played, 356, 1 ruck infringement against the Titans, 1 inside the 10 against the Titans, 6 penalties conceded to 8, 16 errors to 8. Brayley made 43 tackles, McIntyre with 34, Katoa with 173 running meters, Tino with 190, Ramian missed 4 tackles, made 15, Moylan missed 4 and made 19, Sexton missed 7 and made 11, and Turner missed 6 and made 18. Nico with 96 Supercoach points, Moylan with 90, and Tino and Bo Firma with 77 each. I didn't think it was a good game from either team, to be honest. Titans had a bit more control, but they've got no real decisive attack at the moment. They don't seem to be able to strip teams for numbers. They don't seem to be able to power through over the top of teams either. They just don't. They lack that killer blow massively, and I think it's got a lot to do with their halves. And Tino could probably do with 1 or 2 blokes going with him, which wouldn't hurt. But,
well, I think he's got one. About it.
The Sharks seem to lack rhythm and connection. They have done for a while, as I mentioned just before. But they do have strike when they hang on to the ball. They are able to break teams apart and score points. But if they could hold on to the fucking thing, they'd probably be a pretty decent team. But yeah, they looked well on top early.
What do you put that down? Since Magic Round, they've just been average at best, I think.
I think it's taken away Nico and Moylan's time. They're definitely going out of their way to rush the halves, which is sort of forcing that short ball to the back rowers who are making errors, or the halves.
Nico does love that. Nico does love that little panic pass, doesn't he?
Yeah, he doesn't mind it. And Moylan's not bad for it either.
Yeah.
So you see Wilton and Nakora hitting flat balls in hospital zone passes, and then the ball goes down, or they try something stupid and try to fling it out over the top of people, and it gets thrown over the sideline. Or I think they need to set up a little bit deeper, to be honest, in their attack. I understand trying to run it to the line and play at the line, which is good at times, but I just think they need to give themselves a little bit more time and set up a bit deeper in the attack, because it seems that's when they're at their most effective, when they do have a lot more depth in their attacking line. But we'll see how they go over the next couple of weeks. As I said, I thought the Sharks were pretty dominant early, but then they started to play like they expected to score points every time they touched the ball, and they started doing really expansive football, and the ball went to ground way too many times. Stupid decisions and errors, and the Titans started to get back in control there for probably a good 15 or 20 minute period. Maybe 20, 25 really in the second half. But it was ugly. It was ugly football. It was, both teams put up some really ugly looking football there for a good half an hour in this game. Both of them looked like bottom 4 teams, realistically, for a majority of that second half. And it's obviously not good enough for a team in the top 4. But where was I? Wallace lost his mind there at the end of this game. The Titans were in with a bit of a chance there of getting back in or at least
they had momentum.
Close.
You could argue they should have won that game.
And it was the exact same as the last time the Titans versus the Sharks. When the Titans got the momentum late on, he was the one who scored the try, and he was the one who threw it away.
Yeah, but this time he just, was I think one of them was a forearm to the head, and it was some other stupid rubbish stuff. And there was about 3 of them in the space of 5 minutes, which basically took any opportunity the Titans had away from him because he lost his mind. But what do you say? He does it. It's a pretty consistent thing. So I thought Sexton was poor again. I think he seems to be having a poor game every second week at the moment. I don't know if he's if it's worth giving him a rest for a week or 2, or whether they pull through, but we'll see what they do there. Clark and Liu were the best forwards. Mo, apart from Tino, obviously Tino was the best player on the field by a mile. Mo was decent, as was Bo Firma. He made a few errors, but he always puts in a pretty good shift. Kennedy and Katoa were good for the Sharks. Finnegan was disappointing. I'm not sure if he's still fit, or what's going on. He hasn't been good since he's come back. I don't know. I think obviously he needs a lot more minutes to get him back up to speed. McGuinness, Nakora, and Rudolph are pretty strong in the front row. Brayley is playing really good week from week at the moment. I think he's again another hooker that you could mention as being one of the better ones at this time of the year. Moylan was very good again. He just seems to be finding that role of setting up that short pass and setting people up. When he does it properly, it looks quite good, and he's actually attacking the line a little bit with some footwork as well. Hines' kicking game was the difference in this game. When they needed to kick long, he put it down there. He just seems to know when to kick, and he's got a pretty long boot on him. And he did start to run it at times, and I thought he was probably the difference between the two teams. So.
Oliver, your takeaway?
Well, there's not too much I can say about the Titans that I haven't already said every single week for the past, what round is this? 15, 16, past 14 weeks. To be quite honest, Tino was obviously the standout for the Titans, as were the players I think Barney mentioned. I think Bo Firma definitely earned his spot on the extended bench for Queensland. Hopefully he goes away and gets even better for it, because God knows we need him to. But other than that, I think they also just let Cronulla's backline run over the top of them for a lot of this game. I believe it was every single back, as my phone freezes here at a perfect point. Yeah, every single back from 1 to 7 for Cronulla ran for at least 110 meters during the game, and that's not including the couple of forwards that did as well. So, you know what, when your back line's running that well, it is quite hard to lose the game, which Cronulla almost did through their own mistakes. But realistically, I think Cronulla probably could have and should have won this game by a bit more.
Have dominated this game.
Yeah, 100%, if not for their own mistakes. But yeah, it certainly wasn't the Titans having a blinder.
Now, just while I've asked Barney his opinion, his team, but just on yours, one, does Holbrook last the season? There seems to be that they seem to be the next bullseye in line for the media. But two, let's say in a perfect world you parachuted Craig Bellamy into the Gold Coast to coach tomorrow. Is this team actually any good? Is the more I think about this, like maybe they're just not that good. Maybe we've overrated them from the start.
I think what Bellamy, for example, would be able to get out of him at this point, and this is bad to say, but probably on par, if not a little less than what they were in 2021. And that's a team with a decent forward pack, with a couple of players who probably carried extra weight in terms of the effort they put in every week, and it was just enough to scrape into the top 8. That's probably what Bellamy might be able to get out of a few of the players. But to be honest, the big thing for me is the halves. Like, every week, it's just sort of been proven time and again how, and it's nothing against Toby Sexton because he played all right when he was alongside Jamal Fogarty, but getting rid of Fogarty, I'm not saying Fogarty's the best player in the world either, but geez, like, in hindsight, that's a big stuff up, and especially putting all the eggs as well in the Jaden Campbell basket. I mean, he's not played half the games this year, and it just seems like it's been a catastrophic stuff up. That's one of the things I said in the previous show as well. I was worried about putting all the emphasis and all this pressure and on these two young players who are, I think at the time heading into 2022 had played a combined 7 first-grade games, and it's backfired completely. And the person you've got to point the finger at here for that is Justin Holbrook. So does he last the rest of the season? I don't think so. I'm surprised he hasn't been sacked already, to be honest, because all the reports were, I think, a couple of weeks ago, is that he was gone. I still think he pretty much is. I'd say
seems like he is. I think by the end of
July,
the panel shows this week, but it seems like the Sharks are definitely smelling blood.
Well, by the end of July, I think he's gone, unless there's some miraculous turnaround where they win like 3 of the next 5 games or something, which they won't. I think he's gone. Who comes in? I've got like I don't know, probably Paul Green because he's a Queenslander, but I don't know. I don't know who fixes that club, to be honest, at this point.
Yeah, did you have a pick? Walker Brothers, give them a club.
I don't know. Who cares? at this point?
Paul Green does seem, if I was to think about it,
Logical
Paul Green
call.
does seem $1.20 chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway,
They need a few more stocks. They need a couple of outside backs and a couple of forwards. Realistically, they need to go into the player market from what I can see. But
I don't know how much you got to spend.
Well, what player market as well at the moment?
and that's right.
that's true.
How can they
Redcliffe
improve?
own the player market unless Luke Brooks end up one of these Queensland clubs. Like, you know what I mean? That's what there'll be. The Tigers have a fire sale, and you might pick up a Brooks and a, I don't know,
Peachy.
Peachy go back there. I don't know. Like, you're right. Who else is there unless you go and raid some England forwards? I don't know. What do we got to say?
Just a-
All right, sorry.
Anyway,
Three.
move on.
Go on. Give us your 3, 2, 1.
Nicotino, Brayley, or Fermor.
I'd probably go Brayley.
All right, correct. Wait.